I've sung the praises of Made In Cookware for a while now. I own many pieces myself. Now Made In has changed nonstick cookware for good with their ceramic-clad pans. They're premium stainless pans with next-gen ceramic coating free of harmful materials. Beautiful, even cooking, and easy to clean. It's even oven safe up to 550 degrees. How do I know how great they are? I added one to my kitchen. Don't need a nonstick pan? Made In has pots, cutlery, bakeware, glassware, and everything you need. Take your home cooking to the next level by upgrading your cookware by going to unitedwedrink.com/madein, MADEIN. Find out why pros trust Made In. Go to unitedwedrink.com/madein and upgrade your kitchen and cooking today. The opinions and statements in this podcast do not represent those of the host's employers, co-workers, family, or imaginary friends. Now enjoy the show.
Happy hour? More like amateur hour. Welcome to United We Drink.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another new episode of the United We Drink podcast right here on unitedwedrink.com, as well as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever fine podcasts are found. My name is Mike Urevich. I'm feeling all right tonight. I like to think that my co-hosts are feeling all right tonight, too. Kevin, I wish you could see. It's not a video format. Kevin doing a whole kind of like commercial spot there with a little eyebrow raise and point to the can, or he's trying to point to something and I can't really see.
It's a New Belgium logo. Come on, get a better monitor.
Sorry. Tim, are you feeling all right today?
I'm all right. I'm tired. I slept like shit last night, and it's catching up to me. And I thought about indulging in my work beverages this afternoon, but then I was worried I'd be up all night long. So, we'll after a couple beers in this podcast, I'm probably gonna fall right asleep, if not before the podcast ends.
What is the latest that you feel like you can drink coffee in the day without it affecting your sleep?
It's funny because like on a weekday, it's usually probably around I don't know, 3 or 4 before it affects my sleep. On the weekend, like I can go out and have dinner and have an after dinner coffee at 10 and go right to sleep. But conversely, my second cup of coffee on a Saturday and I'm jittery as all get out, whereas during the week I'm pounding our double espresso shots, like 3 a day, and not even feeling a thing. So my body, like my circadian rhythms get all out of whack.
Kevin, you're not a big coffee drinker, right?
I only drink coffee on vacation.
Only on vacation?
That's odd, right?
Yeah.
When I'm on vacation and I go to breakfast, I will have coffee. But other than that, I have no interest in it.
Interesting.
And my wife...
You did drink some coffee when you came and visited me in Philly. So that was like technically a vacation. So it tracks.
Well, first of all, on vacation, I say yes to a lot more things. So when someone comes and says, "Would you like coffee?" Instead of going no, I go yes. Yes, I will. You wanted to take me to a cool coffee spot. It was like lemon involved, or like a lemon soda or something that was put in there. And I was like, I definitely want to try that. Funny enough, my wife does not drink coffee either. So when like my dad comes to town or we have guests and they wake up in the morning like, "Where's the coffee?" I'm like, there hasn't been coffee in here ever. So it's not here. I'm sorry. We are bad hosts.
I like the idea that you say yes to anything on vacation, though. So when you come visit Minnesota and I offer you black tar heroin, you're going to immediately just have to say yes.
I've always secretly wanted to try it. So
I don't know how to get my hands on any.
I don't want to try regular heroin, but black tar heroin? That sounds like the good
Give,
stuff.
give Kevin some dried fish and some black tar heroin, and he's gonna have the true Minnesota experience. Um, I feel like I can. I feel like weekdays and weekends are different for me too. Like weekdays between 2 and 3 is like the point where like, all right, I gotta finish my coffee before 3 o'clock. Otherwise, things get bad. And then weekends, it's all up in the air because sometimes I will have a third coffee on a weekend, on a Saturday or Sunday, and then it does the opposite where I feel extremely tired by like 3 or 4 in the afternoon. And I'm like, I need a nap. And then if I do nap, it's the worst decision ever because then I don't want to do anything in the evening, like make dinner or take care of the kids, which are things that at least the second one I'm supposed to do.
No, I hear you. Last Saturday, I ended up accidentally. My daughter and I went fishing and we came back and she wanted to watch some YouTube and I was like, all right, perfect. I'm gonna go ahead and take a little cat nap. And like 2.5 hours later, I woke up and I was like, that was way too long. Why didn't you wake me, kiddo? And she's like, I don't know. Everything was fine. And then I thought, oh well, crap. Now
I'm still watching the same video that I started off with.
Yeah. And thought I was gonna be able to go to sleep forever, but then I was out by like 10 that night. So apparently, when your sleep rhythm gets all wacky during the week, it doesn't magically recover on the weekend.
What are you drinking now, Tim?
So I popped into the liquor store the other day and I saw Michelob Amberbach. I have not had
Oh, wow.
Michelob Amberbach in forever. To be honest, I kind of had wondered if it had gotten discontinued.
I was gonna just ask you, is that a 5-year-old beer, a 10-year-old beer?
Yeah, I literally because I hadn't seen it. So back in the 90s, early 2000s. I don't know if you guys remember. This thing was on tap everywhere.
Oh yeah.
It was very very popular. And this is the most 2000s thing to say. In the summer of 2000, I went to a Three Doors Down concert, and I drank way too much Amberbach. And let's say I think it was a good concert. I don't really recall. But anyway, I had not had a Michelob Amberbach in forever, in ages, and maybe over a decade. I hadn't seen it. Like I said, didn't think it existed. I saw that. I thought, shoot, I'm gonna give it a try. And I have to tell you, I'm quite enjoying it.
I remember liking that, like in my early, like right around when I was 21, like the beer that I liked to drink the most was Yingling Lager. So Amberbach was not far off from that. So if I saw that on tap somewhere, I was getting Chili's. Like that was on at a lot of Chili's down here, and I loved me some Southwestern egg rolls. So an order of those and a couple Amberbachs, and I was a happy 21, 22-year-old.
We're covering all of the early 2000s. Like just take me to a TGI Fridays where I can listen to some Limp Bizkit and drink some Michelob Amberbach.
I remember buying a Michelob variety pack many years ago that it was like Amberbach. It was like a honey ale. It was like 4 or 5 beers in that pack, and I think it was like the first variety pack I ever bought. The grocery store had it, and I was into like getting to try new beers, and I'm like, oh sweet, let me try this. And there was some good stuff from what I recall, and I was just now like trying to find it, but you type in Michelob variety pack and you just get seltzer stuff all over the place.
Yeah, I
Um,
think I mean, obviously, Mick Ultra is like their flagship brand
yeah.
now,
It's,
but
it's really all they have left.
yeah, I don't think Michelob gets actually probably enough credit for how kind of crafty they were for you know being a big macro uh brand, because they actually did have things like the Amberbach and the honey, whatever that thing was, and a couple others that was like, oh, they actually were doing some pretty interesting things. And like I said, for a dark lager, this thing is just right for the time of year. It's nice. You get a little bit of notes of toffee. You get it's still very easy drinking, and I could see why 21-year-old me is
Oh, I
hazy at
found it.
best. Okay, all right,
Oh,
yeah. So what's in this thing?
okay. It's Michelob Original Lager,
Uh huh.
Amberbach, Honey Lager, and Märzen.
Oh yeah. Okay,
Oh
there you
wow.
go. See,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I think that's amazing. I think hey, craft beer nerds, give Michelob another look. I think that's what I'm gonna say.
So two things about Michelob. One, my dad's already been mentioned once on this episode. Let's make that two. I think it was several days ago. He said he went to a bar and they had Amberbach on draft, and he was happy because he loves that beer. So somewhere he's very very pleased listening to this. But when I was going and buying beer underage with my fake ID, when I was a younger person, one of my favorite beers was Michelob Dark Lager.
Hmm.
And this was not Amberbach. It was a different brand. Now, maybe it was just rebranded as Amberbach down the road. I don't know. But I distinctly remember loving that beer. So I have very fond memories of Michelob as a brand. And when you started talking about that, Tim, that was when I was going through the Rolodex in my mind. I'm like, do they just make Mick Ultra now? Is that the only thing they're known for? And I went on their website and other than seltzers and stuff, yeah, it's just Michelob Ultra.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty much all they're known for. But apparently, this is United We Drink, brought to you by Michelob, as we've all expressed a fondness for them.
And is it
So
Michelob Classic Dark?
Yeah, that's the one I'm looking
Okay.
at right now.
Okay. That's because I looked up dark lager and I'm like Amberbach, Amberbach, Amberbach. Oh, what's this? And it was Pure Advocate.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
gonna have to. Yeah, I'd be curious to do a side by side to see if Classic Dark
I
and
I am
Amberbach
going to
are
search out
appreciably different.
for Amberbach now to see where I can find that.
Like I said, I hadn't even seen it, and so when I saw it, I was blown away that it still existed. But I gotta tell you, I'm enjoying it just as much as I recall enjoying it. Um, yeah,
You know,
haters hate on. I like this beer.
I almost had a Bach tonight. Another old school Bach. I have some Shiner in my fridge, and I almost had that tonight. But instead, I'm having a Dale's Pale Ale. I haven't had one of
Oh
these
wow.
in a long time. I was at my little indie grocery store looking for. I meant to grab a pack of our fest beer that released today because I was at work, and then I walked out the door and completely forgot about it. So went to the grocery store, saw that the Dales was in code, and picked it up. It's got a cool like denim
Yeah,
like
that's real
design
cool.
going on it. Also, I didn't realize that this beer is 6.5%. So I texted Phil and I'm like, has Dale's always been this high ABV? He's like, yep. Uh, it tastes great. It's a fantastic beer. It is more like an IPA, which I feel like I kind of remember it being that way, being like Sierra Nevada Pale Ale kicked up a couple notches.
I'm pretty sure I actually had one of those when Phil was on the show. I think that was my what we drinking, but I don't think we actually got to it to talk about it. But I recently did a revisit of that beer on Old Favorite Friday because I ran into it and said, "Oh, I have to talk about this beer." I guess it's my turn to talk about what I'm drinking. So I just finished up our Marzen called Autumn Embers, which I think Ralph did a fantastic job on this year. I think it's almost perfect. It's fantastic. But I am drinking Deep Dark Woods, a spruce IPA that I got in my Lazy Dog mixed pack. And this beer was brewed by Matty Smooth. And first of all, I am very impressed by the fact that his picture shows up in the little booklet that comes with the beers, which is so cool that Lazy Dog does this. And his signature is Matty Smooth. That's how he signs it, which I thought was just adorable. About the beer, it's it's really good. It is a spruce IPA. I brewed a spruce IPA years ago at Funky, and I loved it, and I really wanted to make it a thing, and no one else gave a shit about it. And I just love those flavors. I think they work so well together. We always talk about like pine resin being like a classic West Coast IPA thing, and I was like, let's do spruce, right? Spruce tips. And this is really, really good. It might be just a little too much. It's perfect for me. I worry that it might be a little too much to a lot of people, kind of that lazy dog that are kind of terrified of different beers. But it's really good. There's enough malt backbone to it. The spruce is delicious. I've gone to Lazy Dog just as a patron, not getting my mix pack, and had several of these just independently. I've enjoyed it so much.
Oh, that's awesome.
They're trying to market it, and they're going to put an actual picture of Matty Smooth on there. That is a bold move.
Well, you've already essentially bought it because you are part of the beer club if you're getting these. So it's not meant to bring more people to the table, more to personalize these beers. Ralph has been inside
we
these.
got your we have your
well.
money. Here's this guy.
Yeah, yeah. But or maybe it's just, oh, look at this guy. Doesn't he make you want to drink?
I also need to point
kidding,
out
of course, Maddie. We love you.
I also need to point out that, these beers are designed by the breweries like New Belgium, right? Maddie designed this beer, but then it's brewed by Melvin. And in between those spots, things can really get kind of screwed up. I've tasted beers by really, really good breweries from these mix packs and had them and gone, this wasn't very good. And instead of thinking like the recipe was flawed, like the interpretation of the recipe could have been a problem. There could have been some problems with the brewing. They're probably not going and flying out to brew these beers with them. So maybe he's sitting here drinking this beer going, I don't like it. I don't like how it turned out. But I really, really enjoyed it.
No, you're absolutely right about that. When we did Arrogant Bastard at Badger Hill during the Arrogant Bastard Hits the Road, then Greg actually just happened to be in town because his girlfriend's family or whatever is from Minnesota, and so he tried it, and he said he gave oh no, it's pretty good, which I don't know what that really meant. But from what I understand, that whole Arrogant Bastard Hits the Road, he was seeing some breweries that he felt he'd like, ooh, never should have shared this recipe, but
swing and a miss.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely one of those things, right? Where you can give 3 brewers the exact same recipe and end up with 3 different beers.
Did you guys do exactly the recipe, like with the malts that they wanted you, what they use, or did you use different malts?
Nope, we ordered the malts. We followed the same mash schedule. Like every single thing was down to what they did. But equipment's going to add a lot of different things.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Did you guys do RO at Badger Hill?
Yeah, we did RO, so we tried to match the water profile as best, but that's never. I say it's not an exact science.
The same,
in theory, it's an exact science, but in practice, it isn't. Right? I mean, we're not getting down to every single detail there. And again, equipment has a huge thing, or one person's 68 degrees is another person is different for like all those little things are gonna matter. House yeast is a big thing. Even if we're using the yeast that is ordered, it's not the same thing as the yeast they've been propping up. Like all of those little things are gonna matter too.
Every one of those tiny differences, the 40 of them add up to a big difference at the end of the day.
Yeah.
and you can only control for so many things.
I felt like ours was pretty spot on. We went and we had Aaron get bastard and we did a blind tasting and I thought ours like I couldn't I couldn't pick out the difference. You know.
I want you to go back in time and bring that beer here so we can try it, Tim.
Yeah.
Please do.
It
Go.
was fun. And I mean Greg had a second, so that was at least a good sign. And then he got to see that a bat flew into our brewery in the middle of the day out of nowhere, so that was fun.
It was a sign of what I don't know, but it was a sign.
We're like, we don't have any type of pest problem in this brewery. We really didn't have a pest problem in that brewery, which is surprising because every brewery does. But then the Saturday morning that he happened to show up for whatever reason, a bat just decided to fly in and start flying around the brewery. They're like, it's not even the right time of day, bat. Get out of here.
Yeah, silly bat. Don't you
Yeah.
know things?
Yeah.
All right. So let's get into what we wanted to talk about today, which is a few things. We're going to talk about the news in the brewing industry. That type of news.
Yeah, let's not talk about the news in general because there's
No,
some news.
we are not qualified, nor should we just even want to talk about that on a recorded medium. So a lot of things have been going on with like bigger breweries. So we wanted to touch on them. And first off, let's start with a downer here, and that's the announcement that 21st Amendment is going to be closing up shop by November. A brewery that is definitely an OG when it comes to the craft brewing industry, based out of the San Francisco Bay Area. Their Hell or High Watermelon was a beer. Like I remember when Kevin and I were first getting into this stuff, like people would bring that in to the coffee district to share. They were like so stoked to have it. I mean, I remember having the Brew Die or Brew Free or Die IPA, their black IPA. I feel like a classic brewery from those times had great artwork on their labels, and just always thought that they kind of had some of that staying power, but I guess they really didn't, which is even more weird when you read this article, because the week prior, one of the founders had announced that he was stepping away from the operations and that they were bringing in a new CEO, who was part of a new partnership to oversee the next steps for the brewery. I guess that just didn't really pan out in a short amount of time, and they just decided to announce,
Yeah,
we're closing.
It sounds like right after Sean O'Sullivan made that announcement, then Investor Group got cold feet, and so you hire a brand new CEO and then immediately lose investment. It was shocking, but it also wasn't. They've had some issues over the years. They were briefly contract brewed in Cold Spring, Minnesota, actually. I don't know for how long that was going on. They were contract brewed at Brooklyn, and that fell through. So they were getting contract brewed kind of all over the place for the national
I forgot about that.
distribution.
I do remember that now.
Yeah, they had a couple of those things fall through. They started to go through some bud houses and ran into some issues. So they're, from a distribution standpoint, they'd really taken a really major hit over the past few years. So it's not like this was, I guess, to me, completely out of the blue, but it still feels sudden, given that it didn't seem like hey, we're going to kind of be winding down, or pulling back here, pulling back there. I think they've had a number of issues that weren't necessarily apparent or talked about a lot over the years. But yeah. I mean, it's a place I would go when I was out in San Francisco. It sucks because Cellar Maker a little while ago also closed, and so I haven't been out to San Francisco in a while. But I used to like to hit up 21A and then go over to Cellar Maker, and that trip is not going to be a thing for me anymore.
Yeah, I mean, Anchor still has yet to reopen
Yeah.
after they were saved by the owner of Chobani. Um, but yeah, what I was seeing here in the article as well is they opened up a production facility in 2015 in Leandro, across the bay in the East Bay, and they just were at the point where they're contract brewing to fill in production space, and they just couldn't get capacity anywhere close to, and it just became, I guess, too expensive to really keep that going when you aren't filling up the tanks with even your contract brands. And it says they were making energy drinks and canned cocktails and anything really that came to their doors.
Yeah, yeah, it's a shame. I'm gonna be sad to not have a fireside chat this Christmas. That was always one of my favorites, actually. So, uh,
I'm not sure what you saw down here in South Florida, but I really was Hell or High Watermelon was the only beer that I saw down here on a somewhat regular basis. We got a lot of different stuff when we were in like the trading community, whether we were trading or not. Our friends were trading, so I never had a lot of their beers. Now, when I was out in San Francisco for my honeymoon, I had a bunch of their stuff and really enjoyed it. And I always thought of them highly, but I never experienced their beers on the same way that I would have like Anchor or some of the other breweries out there. But they always seem to be like a benchmark brewery. They were around for a long time. They were
mhm.
well respected in the industry. So even though I didn't have like a personal connection to a lot of the brands, it still kind of hits hard. Like, okay, there's another one that's that size that can go under. We talk a lot about the local guys going under, and then obviously the big ones that happen here or there. But this is a big one.
Yeah, there was a few years ago when they were being distributed down here. I felt like it was Hell or High Watermelon and some of like the Blood Orange, Brew Free or Die would be able to be found, but then that started to get even tough. Like I remember back in, I think it was 2022, with the when the Eagles were playing the 49ers in the NFC Championship game. We were having some family come over to watch the game. My wife is from the Bay Area, so I wanted to get some San Francisco beer and some Philly beer to have at our house. And uh, I thought this was around the time when Anchor was a little spotty on their distribution. I wasn't sure if I was going to find anything from them. I didn't. I'm like, okay, 21st Amendment's down here. Didn't see any of that. Couldn't find anything from the Bay Area at Total Wine that particular day. And yeah, I hadn't seen it since then. I've had some in our trips out to the West Coast in recent years and always enjoy having it, but yeah, it sucks to see a brand that was, yeah, sort of pioneering. Like they were one of the early adopters of cans in the craft brewing industry. So to see someone like them calling it a day, it sucks.
Yeah, I mean, kind of the state of the industry. There have been a few others of maybe not nearly the size of 21A or distribution footprint of 21A, but there have been a few others that I've read about here and there that are like 30-year-old brands that are going. So it's not just these ones that have been around for,
I mean, the same
you know,
area, Bear Republic,
Oh
went
yeah.
under a couple years ago. They were ultimately their brand was bought
yeah,
by Drake's, but like their production facility in Cloverdale, I believe, closed. Their brew pub in Rohnert Park closed. Um, they still Racer 5 is still out there, but it's all made by Drake's now.
yeah. And so it's not just to me. It's not just because what we've seen of this sort of. I hesitate to use the word contraction, but I think it's probably fairly accurate. The contraction, a lot of it has been kind of the craft beer boom and post breweries that have really kind of we've seen shutter the most. But out there, you're seeing more of these legacy, what I would call legacy, that predate the craft beer boom, or the last wave of it in the early
Sure.
2010s or whatever. So yeah, it is. I think that's kind of what makes this one hit hard. Now again, I can't remember the last time I had one because their distribution footprint had dropped so much. I can't remember seeing a whole lot. I used to be able to see 3 or 4 brands on the shelf, and now you're right. It was maybe probably just Hell or High Watermelon. Um, and I don't know if that has to do with once they left Cold Spring, they just weren't in Minnesota as much. But also, I can't remember the last time I had one. So yeah, it is definitely a bummer.
Well, it also speaks to the business model that I think that you saw with Dogfish Head and you saw with Sierra Nevada, where you were an early adopter into the craft beer industry and you were going to be everywhere, 40 some states, and you were going to push that beer because there weren't so many options. So if you were a person who was interested in craft beer in South Florida, you're going to drink Chimay or you're going to drink Dogfish Head because that's what's available to you. And when all the local breweries started up, they really hurt those national brands that were on the fringes. And I have no idea what Sierra Nevada is doing, financially right now in South Florida or where their peaks and valleys have been. But there's certain brands that have always kind of been okay. But those kind of second tier brands, Bear Republic being one of them, and obviously 21st Amendment, they went from having a market because people were hungry for something new, and they were like, "Oh, now I get something new from my local brewery every 5 minutes," because they're in an arms race with the brewery down the street. So now I've got way too many options, and all this great beer, it just got pushed out.
Yeah.
Sometimes in favor of really crappy local beer that itself isn't going to stand the test of time. I'm not, condemning the local craft beer movement. I think it's really important. It's given me a career, but I think it does say something about the industry. The contraction is that all the guys that tried to expand and go nationwide have had to condense, and then the people like myself who said, "Oh, that's going to be our model. We're going to expand into 7 states first and then 14 states. We have this whole huge thing in mind." I mean, I was way too late to even get a whiff of that. And now it's not even an option. And the people that come to me and go, "Oh yeah, I'm going to start a brewery and I've got a aggressive plan to be in 35 states." I'm like, "Oh, good for you. I'm going to go walk in the other direction right now and stop talking to a crazy person."
I mean, I think we all kind of saw this come. I think all of us have talked about how, I think 5 years ago, if you would have asked any one of us what the trend in beer was, it was going to be the hyper localization of it, right? We all saw the regionals and nationals on the liquor store shelves get cut down for more and more to make space for more and more locals. Liquor stores weren't expanding; they were just trading off shelf space one thing for another, right?
Yeah.
So it does feel like some of the stuff was inevitable, and I think we all saw it coming, but it's still. I don't know.
And then
Sometimes
what happened to all of that localized space is a lot of that
yeah,
is shrunk down and was taken by
yeah,
seltzer, and then is going
THC
back
drinks.
to RTDs, and now just basically going back to macro.
yeah. Well, hey, maybe that's why I found Amberbach on the shelf. maybe
Possibly.
maybe that took over.
That probably took someone's place in a set. Did you get it
Yeah.
from like from a grocery store?
No, we don't sell.
Oh, you don't have
Uh,
beer in grocery stores up there?
yeah, yeah. It was like cities can have municipal liquor stores. So Richfield is a muni city, so it was the Richfield Municipal Liquor Store. Decent selection, friendly staff. Wrong about the Vikings kickoff time. The guy that I was talking to.
That should be their slogan.
He was talking to me and he's like, "Well, what are you up to tonight?" I'm like, "I'm just, long day at work. I'm just gonna grab something to watch the Vikings game." He's like, "Oh, well, you already missed kickoff." I'm like, "Kickoff isn't for like another 20 minutes. I live 5 minutes away. I'll be fine." But Yeah, I don't know. Liquor stores are weird. I don't really go to a lot of different ones anymore. I, you know, there's one really close to my house, and this one happened to be on my way home from something. So there's maybe I only maybe been to 3 different liquor stores in the last 6 months. Um, but it doesn't seem like their craft sections are growing, and it seems like their regionals, their national and regionals are less and less prevalent. So yeah, something like 21A. I almost perniciously snuck away from me. I don't know that I was conscious of. Oh my God, it's no longer available, or oh, it's not so much available. It's just one of those things that sort of, the attrition of those brands that happens.
One of the things I wish I was more conscious about when it was happening was, and I understand what I'm saying is local to Florida, but I'm sure it translatable to you, Tim, in that when these beers came to us that we had heard about for all this time, or maybe we were lucky enough to have traded for them and tried them beforehand, but all of a sudden, Stone showed up for the first time, and
Mm-hmm.
Southern Tier showed up for the first time, and 21st Amendment showed up for the first time, and Bear Republic and Firestone Walker, and they all started showing up. It was like it would be being peppered with it because we had nothing, and then the floodgates opened, and then this beer was there, and we were so excited, and then we never thought about it again.
Yeah,
Right?
because
Like
it was too much. It was an overload.
and
We still don't
couldn't.
have Firestone, by the way.
Well, I'm sorry, I just threw names out there.
Well, I mean, be careful. We have Firestone. Well, maybe we don't anymore again, but we were all excited to get Firestone, and then you couldn't find anything in code to save your damn life.
But there's so many reasons why that was not sustainable, right? Like we were like, oh, we're living in the best times because we have all this beer available to us. But unless you didn't have a job and were a profound alcoholic, you were not going to be able to drink enough of these brands to satiate your desire for them and to support them because there weren't enough beer drinkers in that segment. And then you just saw them fall off one by one. They pulled distribution out of this area. They pulled distribution out because they weren't selling, and the beer without a code. It's a shame that did not snowball into more adoption of those
Mm-hmm.
brands into the greater public. But I feel like I'm just as guilty as anyone because I was so excited for so many of these beers and then I never drank them again.
You are guilty of that.
It's all my fault. I've
Uh,
been saying it for years.
yeah. Well, and to your point is, yeah, it's probably been taken by lower quality local stuff. I, I- I'm well on record that I think local is kind of a bullshit term, I shop my local independent hardware store before anything else. Like I support all of those things, but the way that we've managed to conflate local with quality is silly to me, and I can definitely tell you I would much rather have a brew free or die than a lot of other IPAs that I know from breweries right around here. So
Absolutely.
yeah, it is definitely one of those things where when the cool bar closes and everyone talks about how it's sad, but then none of them can tell you the last time they went there.
Yeah.
That's exactly what this is.
100%.
Yeah.
It's like the old saying. To go back to your point about local, it's like the old saying. The greatest trick the devil ever played was convincing people that local meant it was good. So, let's move along. Have a little drink for Firestone Walker.
Firestone Walker?
You mean 21?
So I was thinking of Fireside Chat that Tim said earlier.
Yeah,
21st
I do love
Amendment.
Fire. Yeah.
So Boston Beer, who are the parent company of Dogfish Head, who we mentioned a few times during that segment, announced earlier last month that Jim Koch, founder of Boston Beer, was returning to being the CEO of the company after their existing CEO announced that they were stepping down for personal matters. Koch was the original CEO of the company from 1984 until 2001.
Wow.
And he states that he is going to oversee things for a little bit. He doesn't see this as being a long-term thing, but they intend on promoting a new CEO from internally in the company, hopefully within a couple of years. And Boston Beer has been seeing some decreasing numbers in their sales over the years. Truly, never truly lived up to their demand, I guess, or their hype.
That's surprising to me. I always look. I mean, Claw is really the dominant one in that, but I always hear people say there's two dominant seltzers, White Claw and Truly.
Hmm.
That's what it seems like it's been very successful. Maybe not as successful as they wanted it to be, but I felt like that was a cash cow for them.
Well, and Boston Beer's stock performance has been doing well despite uh some of their sales slumps. I think part of the challenge for them is they've had some real category misses. So we've talked about on this podcast that, you know, breweries kind of the path forward are to really become beverage companies, not be breweries, right? And Boston Beer was one of the originals to do that. They were the ones getting into cider when other people weren't getting into cider, and they were getting into the twisted teas and
Yeah,
the
I
hard
mean,
lemon.
Twisted Tea's been around for longer than the FMB really was a popular thing,
Yeah,
and people didn't realize that that was Boston Beer.
yeah, and so they've been playing in a lot of different categories now. Lately, they've been trying to do that even more, and they've had some misses, and they've had to kind of shut down whole little kind of extensions they thought were going to be awesome. This big NA thing that was like basically just fruit juice and seltzer or something like that. And so I think they've had a few of those category misses.
They've been doing
frankly.
really good with Sun Cruiser. They're like competitor to Surfside,
Yeah.
the vodka iced tea things.
Yeah, and so yeah, they played some pretty well in RTDs, and you know, for all the doom and gloom we talk about in the alcohol industry, RTDs saw explosive growth in 2024 and are still seeing explosive growth in 2025. So they're still strong yet. Now maybe not as much as people thought. But uh yeah, I think the relationship with investors has been one thing, but again, Boston Beer is one of those things where I saw them on tap a lot more places than I have as of late. So, um, I think maybe they perhaps went too much into kind of the category expansion. And maybe getting someone like Jim, who's first of all, you know, he has not been CEO for 25 years, 24 years, whatever, but he's been very much an active voice and participant that
Oh
entire
yeah, still
time.
a board member,
Yeah,
still, and their CEO who left the company is still a board member for
yeah,
Boston Beer.
yeah. But you know, I not to say they need to get back to their roots because I don't know that they're going to win by going back to beer, but maybe you know maybe it's time for them to kind of revisit some things too, and maybe make those sales match that stock performance. But it's kind of hard to argue when their stock has been performing pretty darn well despite all these other struggles. They're kind of an enigma in that way. You know, it's not something we talk about often since most of the breweries we talk about aren't publicly traded companies.
Yeah.
Is
Uh,
Uh,
yeah.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Mike.
so the article that I was reading about this, it couple some stats here from the most recent quarter. They are down 5% on their product shipped or product sold, and then a decrease of 0.8% of shipped volume. I don't ever really understand because I'm not an economic person. The differences in those two different things and why they are given as two different numbers. I kind of just like sales as a differentiating thing. But it does say that Truly is their biggest decliner. Sam Adams brands are next, but that Dogfish Head is actually seeing a little bit of growth, as well as their Sun Cruiser that I mentioned before, the lemonade, vodka, iced tea type of drinks there. So there is some stuff going on. Like I guess in the whole scheme of things, 5% from last quarter, maybe it's not a huge deal, but still not trending in the right way. We've seen stuff over the last couple of years of how a lot of these brands have been seeing decrease in growth, where some of them are doing all right. Like Sierra, we mentioned them in the last segment. New Belgium was doing all right, but I think I saw something about them like kind of leveling off recently this year, but don't trust me on that. I don't have those fucking numbers in front of me. Everything's just grain of salt. Throw salt at me.
Take everything Mike says and use it for your entire investment strategy. You're going to be fine. So,
I'm not a
yeah,
lawyer or an investment advisor.
but before we got on and we started recording tonight, Mike and I were having a conversation about just some things about the industry that we thought were kind of ridiculous. And I think we're going to do an episode about that coming up. But not to jump too much into that, but it's really interesting for us to have perspective on some of these things because we're not high level CEOs in these giant companies who are looking at all these different aspects and trying to make predictions. We're beer people who have insight. I think we have something to say that might be considered valuable by some, but we're looking at, I think, for the most part, other than Tim's inexplicable complete mastery of the Boston beer stock prices, which I appreciate the fact that you are keeping up on that. But we're looking at the actual
Oh,
product.
things are going down right as we speak. Off market prices are plummeting.
It might be because of what you just said, Mike. Is this a live show? Or is this actually?
Whoops.
But what I wanted to say was that, when I looked at what Boston Beer was doing with Boston Lager, which was their flagship beer, which was a wonderful, wonderful beer, that I think they turned into a pretty crappy beer. I think they turned it into a middle of the road beer that appealed to no one. No one that wants a Budweiser or a normal macro lager is going to drink that beer. And no one that wants a good hoppy amber lager is going to drink that beer either. And I think they turned it into a beer for no one. And I think sometimes you have this in a corporate environment where you're trying to appeal to so many people and you end up with that. And we see this in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Trying to appeal to everyone, you end up appealing to no one. Now, this is hindsight, right? And also that might not be the case. But the Boston Lager might be performing better than anything else in their entire portfolio, and I'm completely wrong. But I do think there's a danger in that when you take your identity of being the outlier, the craft lager that is for people who are in the know, and turn it into something that is trying to ape the other stuff. Is that part of the problem?
So, from a national chain restaurant perspective, that's where Boston Lager was really always very strong. So even like I remember doing draft optimization stuff with Miller, and they even recommended us having Boston Lager on tap at Buffalo Wild Wings. They did not just recommend straight Miller products across the board. And so, I mean, you saw that every TJ Fridays you went into always had a Blue Moon, a Boston Lager, a Miller Lite, and then probably two Bud products. But they always got placement in a lot. Sam got a lot of placement in those things where otherwise it was going to be BMC products, and they've done pretty well. The challenge now is that national restaurant chains are also down. So while that became an amazing growth strategy for them and got them anywhere and everywhere, and probably, you're right, maybe made a beer that appealed to no one when they were trying to appeal to everyone type of thing. Uh, it's one of those things where I think the thing that makes you can also be the thing that hurts you. And I think that is one of the things they've uh that they've struggled with. And like I said, the smartest thing, the best thing they've done in the last, I don't know, 5 years or so is agreeing to that Saturday Night Live pumpkin ale sketch with Bill Burr. If you've not seen, which surprises me, Mike, that you've not seen this.
No,
Oh, it's fantastic. It's Sam Adams talks to real Bostonians about Sam Pumpkin Ale, and like all of the Saturday Night Live actors are like, "Oh, I love that it's, you know, perfect for the season," and blah 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 blah. And it's all these people in like, typical, white person fall gear and stuff like that. And then there's Bill Burr, and he's like the typical like rugged Bostonian, and he takes a sip. He's like, "What the fuck is this stuff?" And then he gets into a fight with his son in the store, and if you have not seen it, do yourself a favor and just look up Bill Burr Pumpkin Ale. I think you will very much appreciate it. Even some of the people who don't like Bill Burr for either being too woke or not woke enough.
Which is hilarious. That's a thing now.
Yeah, exactly. Is that he's both of those. That he's got one commercial that Saturday Night Live that was that one, and they followed up one for Buffalo Wild Wings, which was also fucking spot on and hysterical. And again, he gets into a fight with his son in the Buffalo Wild Wings. But it's a real Bostonian thing. It's hysterical, and it's not like a fake Sam Adams. It's actually Sam Adams. So they actually had to, this is something that Sam Adams
had to approve.
Yeah, approve, if not, even
sponsor.
Pitch. Yeah, exactly.
All right, I have it queued up for me to watch when we're done here.
Yeah.
I pulled up some financial numbers because they are a publicly traded company. They put all of this stuff out there. This is their end of quarter 2 2025 summary. Year to date, depletions decreased by 3% and shipments increased by 1.7%. Net revenue of $1.042 billion was an increase of 3.6%. Their gross margin of 49.1% was up 410 basis points. I don't know what that means.
Oh, basis points? Yeah, I got
that. Yes. They're basis. They're like basic, but basis, right?
You said bassist, like they play the bass? Bassist?
Yes, like Mike Dirnt.
So a basis point.
Chris Novoselic points?
A basis point
Geddy Lee. Yeah.
Is 0.01%. That's the way you have to look at that. That's called a basis point.
I still don't know what you're talking about.
Okay. All right.
Net income it was an increase, and their income per share was an increase of 40% year over year. So the company's doing decently well.
Yeah, stock price itself has been flat to down, but earnings per share last I looked was up something like 25% too, like diluted EPS. So, they have
diluted ESBs, not really tasty.
You don't want to dilute those. You end up with like a 3% beer. No.
As the one person on this call whose data has actually been involved in an earnings call, these things do mean something. So, but yeah, no, they have.
I've been involved on earnings calls. Like you talk, you're on a call with your mom about like how much that's an earnings call, right?
Yeah, exactly the same. When you're on your call with your mom and you've got all of these
I'm trying to earn from my mom.
Journalists and activist investors asking questions.
At this point, Tim is really exposing us as the simpletons that we down here in South Florida, Mike. And remember when I had very strong opinions and things? I don't have those anymore. Tim, what do you think? You got ESB earnings. Go tell me about them.
Oh my goodness.
Can
Anyway,
you check my
this
portfolio to make sure my TCP/IP settings are good and that I'm earning and getting the juice?
boy.
Did I say any of that right? I don't think
I
so.
really
I hope so. For your sake. I don't want the wrath
boy.
that Tim's going to visit on you.
Like I'm
Dude,
trying to look at my portfolio right now, but all it just says is log in. So I don't really know.
Well, you have to log in more than every 7 years. It's one of the main things. It will save that login data for too long. I
I
think
didn't
it.
enable cookies. That's why.
But you know what? I think is a really. I like that you read that, Mike, and I think that looking at the big picture, because we are looking at a very small
No, it's a
window.
really small picture on here. It's not that big.
Mike's on fire right now. But we are constantly looking at these little aspects of the business, and sometimes it ends up being prophetic. Like we end up saying, "Oh yeah, well that brewery probably isn't doing that well,"
Or
and
alcoholic soup is coming.
or Tim predicts alcoholic soup days before it's announced, which I mean that was brilliant. But uh, I think you're actually making a counterpoint to my point of the fact that we don't know what the fuck we're talking about. But I think what you're saying is we do. So we should just soldier on and keep giving our takes on things that we may or may not know what the hell we're talking about.
Yeah, like I said, Boston Beer is unique in that they are a publicly traded company, not just because they share financials, but because um, there is a tenuous relationship between company performance and share performance. And I think that is something that becomes very different when you're privately held. Is that you know, if sales are down, sales are down.
You only have to make one person with money who doesn't understand the brewing industry happy in a privately held company, where with public, you got to make like thousands of people who have a lot of money and don't understand the brewing industry happy.
Well, you don't have to understand the brewing industry, right? I mean that's the thing about the biggest investors
I mean, that's rule number one of the brewing
and hedge
industry. You
funds.
don't have to understand it to be involved in it.
Well, yeah, for sure. But from like an investment standpoint, thinking about people with the most diversified stock portfolios, they don't have to know anything about that because what you're looking at is share performance and expectations from the street. I don't know how many times, for instance, like when I was at Buffalo Wild Wings and involved in those earnings calls, where I would hear our CEO say something on an earnings call where I was like, "Well, that is absolutely not true," um, but it was true in a sense, if I can color it that way. Um, and again, what people are looking at, like it always boggles my mind. If you've ever sat and listened to an earnings call, which at some point you guys just should, I think it's amazing, not just for a beer industry, but the way people think they understand the inner workings of a business and how that's really going to translate to stock performance. And like I said, there's a very tenuous relationship between uh, actual company performance and stock performance, and your smartest CEOs are managing uh, perceived shareholder value rather than necessarily actual performance, and that's where a lot of those companies come into a conflict. Is sometimes it makes it hard to target until the stock price really sees the hit that they don't make the adjustments that they need to make, and that's where Target replacing their CEO here recently is about 4 years too late because they still saw decent stock performance despite all of the very glaring issues from a store performance standpoint. And beer is no different. It's just for us, the vast majority of breweries aren't publicly held, and so we have a very different perception. So that's my 2 cents.
That's more smart than anything I've ever said on this podcast.
I think it's valuable insight, and also it goes to show you is that what if Boston Beer is performing the way they are, and they're making this change, is that because someone is seeing things down the road and going, well, things might look good right now, but they're not going to look good in 6 months. So we need to kind of make a change and divert resources in this direction, or put a face to the company that seems more appealing. I mean, that would be the smart thing to do if the stock performance uh, is more positive than the market performance in general. In getting ahead of that, that would be a smart move if that's what they're doing, by bringing back the the kindly guy who was on those commercials and used to go bar to bar and sell his beer and made the beer in his garage. Like,
And always
that's a good
said
move.
it and always
You,
said insane things like he eats yeast before he goes drinking, and then the yeast metabolizes the alcohol and he doesn't get
I
drunk.
forgot all about that
And
story.
and I remember, like, right after that story came out, I was in Denver drinking Utopias with Jim, and he got absolutely shit-faced. And I was like, "Oh,
He
guess he
got
didn't have his."
absolutely shit faced. You mean he
Or
was?
he just was. He just is.
Yeah.
No,
Perpetual state.
well, I was gonna say that's what is kind of funny, because like when you see him even at his most sober, he does come across like he has maybe had a couple of beers. I mean, I've been in an 8 o'clock morning meeting with him giving a presentation and thinking,
This
boy,
guy's
has this
fucked
guy
up.
had anything yeah, but he's not. I mean, but yeah.
So
uh,
years ago, I'm sorry, I'm gonna tell this quick story,
I
Mike.
think Kevin's going to tell the same story as me. So go ahead.
I don't think so. Maybe.
Okay.
So the original owners of the Funky Buddha were Ryan Sense and Jim Bast. And Jim was bought out by Ryan before they even got into the big production facility. He was a firefighter local here. And one of the jokes we had as a group was that he could never pour a beer without just foaming the fuck out of it. Like, I don't know what it was. He was incapable of pouring a fucking beer. And we used to call it locally jimming a beer. Like, you'd really fucking jim that one. And we tried to get it on Urban Dictionary online and submit it as like a thing, like as a colloquial term for not being able to pour a beer. And in order to do that, it has to be like a universal thing. So when we submitted it, we put the fact that it was Jim Cook from Sam Adams that could notoriously not pour a beer properly, so that jimming a beer might kind of sort of get there, because we thought it'd be hilarious if we got that on Urban Dictionary. Apparently they had very serious standards back in the day. They never took it. It never took off. But every time I think of that person, I think of Jim Bass and Jim Cook, and the fact that I tried to slander his good name about not being able to pour a beer for a joke for a person that I knew.
By the
Was that
way,
the
that
story
was
you were going to tell, Mike?
absolutely the story that I was going to tell. No, I thought you were going to, because if I'm not mistaken, when we went to CBC in Denver, I thought you and I were both right next to Jim Cook at one of the hop providers tables, and he's there, like, rubbing hops in his hands and then smelling them, and then being like to us, "Oh, this one really smells good." And he seemed so fucking hammered, and it was like 9-10 in the morning. I thought you were there with me, but maybe you weren't. Maybe it was Joel, maybe it was former owner of previous brewery. But it was surreal in the moment of being like, I've always heard that you're drunk all the time, and now here I am experiencing you face to face, and
In
you
real
kind of
time,
seem
being
drunk.
drunk all the time.
Yeah.
He boy does he love, because he used to do that all the time with us at Buffalo Wild Wings, is pass out hops and then make you rub them in your hands and smell like that is
He
literally
he just
a
carries them in
very
his pocket like a grandfather
it is,
has
yeah,
caramels
like
in his
Werther's
pocket.
Words
Originals, yeah.
originals.
Yeah, it is. No, that is. I was gonna say that's a very believable Jim Cook story, because I have experienced the exact same thing in a very different thing. Yeah, because at B Dubs, when he would, uh, uh,
I
do
don't think
like,
Buffalo Wild Wings has been mentioned as often on this show as this episode.
This is the
yeah,
Buffalo Wild Wings episode.
well, because
Well,
we
I mean,
got,
we're talking about larger breweries pretty much. So
yeah,
like this
yeah.
falls right into the wheelhouse of like Tim's former employer.
Yeah, I was gonna say it makes sense, and like it is weird to me, like, because like I say, I've been in the industry, right? I started in the brewing industry in 2014, but if you go back to my years at Buffalo Wild Wings and the relationships I had with the Boston beer people, or like guys credited in the Brewers Association draft quality manual, used to be guys I would like call to ask questions about our draft system in our test bar.
Neil,
Like,
right,
yeah,
former
yeah,
guest
yeah,
of the show, Neil
yeah,
Whitty.
yeah, and and Jeff Bell, like all these people, like I didn't realize it at the time, but I was actually probably, as finger on the pulse of what was going on from beer, especially at that time, 2011, before the local boom had really taken off. That it really was paying a little bit more attention to all that stuff. And then, also having gone to business school and understand what earnings per share means, maybe is why I can also contribute. Um, but yeah, Buffalo. I mean, but at the time, Buffalo Wild Wings, there was not another national sports bar chain. If you look at it, like all the sports bar chains you can think of, they're largely regional. Like, name a national sports bar chain. Name one.
Yeah, I don't
You
really know
can't,
off the top of my head. Yeah,
right? TJ
yeah.
Friday, Chili's, Applebee's.
The one
Those aren't sports
they're not
bars.
sports bars. Yeah,
Yeah,
the
they're
ones
family
down
restaurants, right?
here, like the ones down here, Duffy's, Miller's Ale House. They're Miller's is somewhat national or maybe
I've ne-
regional, but
I just say I've never seen or heard of a Miller's.
they
You know,
exist in the Northeast and down here in Florida. Like they were started in Florida by a Philly dude, and they exist in Pennsylvania, New York, New Jersey, as well.
yeah,
But
but
like,
probably not anywhere near the store count, right?
but you know what's funny is my boys love Buffalo Wild Wings. They love the logo specifically. Anytime we drive by one, somehow it always catches the sign catches their eyes, and they're like, "Oh, the Buffalo." And we've gone a few times. Like with us, my folks love it. So it's just like
when we were there, we revamped the logo, got revamped, and some of the old school people were pissed, like Cracker Barrel
I
pissed.
was
But
gonna say
social
Cracker
media,
Barrel. Yeah,
it was Cracker Barrel level of pissed, but it wasn't like, first of all, woke wasn't a term, and also it wasn't, as social media heavy at the time that we were doing it. And I think most people probably didn't even notice that much of a difference, right? It's kind of like Burger King changes their font slightly in their logo, and no one really batted an eye, type of thing. This added some accent marks to the wings, and slightly changed up a couple of the fonts or whatever, but people got up
Evan
in
is
arms like, you
chomping
don't
at the
touch
bit.
that thing.
Mike, if
Yeah.
you do not get some money from Michelob and Buffalo Wild Wings for this episode, not doing your job. I don't know what your job is, but you're not doing it. And I mean, at some point, Mike, I don't know if you realize what you just said. You just said, my children love Buffalo Wild Wings. It's good for all the family. They see the sign
they're
and they
they're gonna
notice
clip
it.
they're gonna clip that and put it into a commercial, and I'm gonna
Oh
get
god.
nothing from it.
Oh god, one of the biggest challenges when I was on the food and beverage innovation team is that we were struggling with day parts, right? So we were really good at dinner and late night. We sucked at lunch, but we were absolutely atrocious at happy hour. And one thing that I tried to point out was, you know why we suck at happy hour? Because
Not
that
enough
also
kids.
no, I was gonna say too much kids, because that's when we were also doing all of like the sports league sponsorships and the, you know, 5 cents
That
in
when
every
you had
check
the
will go
Dan
to
Patrick
this.
beer.
And technically it was not a Dan Patrick beer. We started off with Dan Patrick beer, but then we separated from Dan Patrick and he was no longer involved. Yeah, and yes, through the game changer. Which I still have a hat and a glass and a tap handle around here somewhere. Um but like I remember one time while we were doing like we were like me and the manager that was working on the happy hour day part, we were kind of doing competitive analysis. So we would go out to happy hours. It was research. And then we went to a Buffalo Wild Wings during happy hour, and it was crawling with kids. And so uh I
You kicked
went
them
into
all
the
out.
well, I went into the bathroom
You sold them all
and
beer.
I went into
I don't like where this is going.
no. But there's like a 5-year-old kid peeing at the urinal with his pants around his ankles. And I walked back out and I told Jeff, I'm like, how are you ever gonna have
Wait, you told Jeff?
he was hold on. He was the manager on the day part. I was
What
like,
are we
how are we
doing?
ever going to have a happening happy hour? How is a 20-year-old to want to go ahead and get drunk at happy hour when the place is crawling with kids? Like literally, this is why we're suffering, is because we're trying to market happy hour, a drinking occasion, around kids and family. Like we totally lost that one, and so happy hour became a terrible day part for us when it should have been huge. Uh, Same thing with our charity. I'm not saying that kids aren't a valuable charity, but it came down to a vote. They let all the corporate employees vote on what the charity was going to be, and half of them chose, 2/3 of them chose a kids charity, and the other smarter ones of us chose military, because we're like, we can get people to drink for the military. It feels a little weird to try to get people to drink for the kids.
I've been doing it my whole life.
Tim, I
No, you
really
drink because of the
appreciate
kids.
Both. I do. I because of and for.
Tim, I really appreciate
You
you
do things.
releasing those files that you and Jeff created there. And I think that we should move on and talk about another news bit here, beverage news bit. So Sierra Nevada, we've talked about them in this episode a bit. They are doing a release, like a slow burn release on this new pills. I think both of you have probably seen this by now. They are putting it out to a few markets in draft and in a pretty new format, in the sense of an 8-pack of 8.4 ounce cans. And yeah, I held that on for way too long and didn't get the actual number. Yes, 8.4. I was correct. So a brand new brand that they're putting out there as this kind of premium pills. I mean, it looks beautiful. It's a slim, small can. And I mean, who in the beer industry doesn't love pills? So this is a really interesting pivot for a brewery who has been, I feel like, on the surface seemingly doing well. The hazy, the Little Thing brand has been doing pretty well in our opinions on things recently, while Pale Ale remains being an iconic brand, if at an ESB, as we've talked about in the past now. So this, along with like this next part, is just something that I'm throwing in because it came up on my Instagram feed as just like, oh, here's a new thing. Their Trail Pass NA brand is releasing a Fest beer, an NA Fest beer. seasonally, and I just think that that's incredible too. So like these are two new Sierra Nevada brands that they are releasing right now that I am ultra excited about. Is seeing a pilsner from a brewery who's maybe not the most well known for their lagers, despite that they make fantastic lagers. Their fest beer every year is a banger and is a must have. Their Summerfest is an amazing lager as well. But seeing them putting out a pilsner in a cool new format and then an NA fest beer as well, I'm excited about this. But is this something that is going to move the needles to more people than just this guy or these guys also on the show?
I think they had a earnings call that they talked specifically about you, Mike. They said,
Oh yeah.
There's this guy. He lives in South Florida. He loves beer.com. And he is a and he has a podcast, and we're gonna make a couple things for him, and we're gonna see how it goes. And I think that's what they're really going for.
I
Really
love
narrowing it down to who it could be.
when I got to introduce via Twitter my friend Adam, who goes by Adam Likes Beer, to Mike, who's Mike Loves Beer, and I was like, oh, Adam likes beer, but Mike loves beer.
It's not
Okay.
you, it's me.
But honestly, like I applaud anyone trying to do something different in the space because it's challenging, right? I mean, people are trying to drink less and consume less alcohol, so maybe a smaller can will work. My experience shows that people still pay for ABV. They
Mhm.
still want bang for their buck, and I'm very skeptical that anyone's going to purchase smaller cans that they have to drink more of. Because they're not going to be that much cheaper because the aluminum is not going to be that much cheaper.
Yeah.
Anytime you reduce the package size, you don't proportionally reduce the cost because that's not the way this works, right? It's the reason why what's blowing up in the C-store world, 7-Elevens and independent liquor stores and stuff. It's the giant 24-ounce cans. That's what people are loving, and those are great for the brewers because it's cheaper to sell those, right? Because you only need one lid, you only need one end. You know, it's so it seems like folly to me, but I also didn't see the seltzer thing coming, right? Like, I
Y-
mean, this could be the next big wave of things, of these smaller package sizes, but it doesn't hit me very well.
So here's where I'm going to be inconsistent with past Tim, right? So I've talked about how I think the
First of all, fuck that guy. Go ahead.
yeah, that guy's a dick. Um I mean, present Tim is also kind of an asshole, so it's fine. Um he really can't talk. But I've talked about how I feel like all of the media attention to NA beers, and not that NA is not a growing segment, but where I feel like it's folly for too many breweries to try to chase after NA because again, it's hard to charge. Kind of your point, if people are paying for ABV, it's kind of hard to charge a premium price for what is considered by that ABV consumer a sub premium product, right? With all the margin or all of the margin issues involved, all the cogs that are still the same, whether or not it's 4 or 2 or 12%. That said, I think part of that, if you are looking for those people that are trying to drink but drink less, I do think there is a growing market of people who have you know, maybe they wouldn't even call themselves sober curious, But hey, we talked about Mick Ultra earlier, right? Slim can, low ABV, and it's still crushing it for them. I think there's not a craft equivalent to that, but I think there probably are more consumers out there than you're thinking, and I maybe the Barrel of Monks consumer is different. Uh, and I'm not saying it's wrong, and maybe it would be lousy in your market in particular. I think there is starting to be a growing amount of consumers that aren't just paying per ABV. And again, I'm completely contradicting myself from before, but I think I get what you're saying, and I get your trepidation. I think maybe this feels a little bit like it has a little bit more promise just based on some of those other things, where yeah.
But I love that perspective on it because that's so important, right? Like, I think too often we look at these moves. I'll go back to the Boston beer thing with Boston Lager. It seemed like such a stupid fucking move to me to move away from what Boston Lager was to make it what I call a middle of the road beer that was for nobody. But a lot of people, a lot smarter than me, with more experience than me, went down that road. And there's always, even if you are like, I'm 60% sure this is going to work, you make the move, right? And sometimes it doesn't, and sometimes it does. Sometimes you spark an entire new thing. Like, there's always a good reason for doing these things. The movies we love, the Marvel Cinematic, stupid move they did. Well, some smart people thought it was a good move. It just didn't get executed the right way, or it didn't hit the way you wanted it to. So no, thank you for saying that, because of course there's good reasons why this could work and be a boon for them. I'm just looking at this from my perspective going, what the fuck is going on? And that doesn't seem like a good idea, but I don't necessarily know what the hell I'm talking about.
Yeah, and I think I think it would be a lousy move for Barrel of Monks to do it.
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, no, but I didn't even mean that as a joke.
In fairness, every movie we've made for 10 years has been lousy. So what I like about this, though, Tim, what I like is the consistency. So we should make this move. More lousy moves, more consistency. You know what you're getting from us. Lousy move after lousy move after lousy move.
Yeah.
Don't give a good move, then you'll confuse them. Don't confuse the market.
And maybe I miss one of you potentially saying this, but this does seem like, to me, a little bit of a grab into that Mick Ultra space a little bit.
You're just telling all the listeners that you walked away from the mic for a couple of minutes. Yeah,
I did. I don't lie to you. I don't lie to you. Both of them walked away at one point this episode.
I walked away several times.
You didn't know a thing. Now I'm throwing people under the bus. Okay. Let's get this bus out here. Jerome, come on. So I think that it is an interesting look at this, because the format, that slim can, calling it premium. Premium has always been this sort of term used within macro to differentiate their
Corona, Modelo, Heineken. They all use premium as their what is really supposed to be just like their calorie conscious, type of.
I don't even think it's that. It's just this weird catch-all to be like, oh, this is just a different. Like, I mean, Modelo Especial. It might as well be premium, but doing that format size, but using the word pills in there, and then it also says craft lager on the can as well. I feel like that is an attempt to play in both fields.
Mm-hmm.
Like, let's premium. Okay, let's try to and that format size. Let's play with those macro people. Pills, craft. These are things we want to appeal to a craft savvy drinker. Like, I think that they might be trying to to do the best of both worlds at the same time. Whether or not that's a good business decision, I don't know. Like I'm at least happy myself that I get to try a cool new pilsner from one of the best breweries in the fucking world when that eventually comes to our market. But yeah, it is like to take a meme. Bold strategy, Cotton. We'll see if how that plays out. But like there's never anything from Sierra though that I will never not try. Like
Of course.
Yeah.
they have gained my trust over the last almost 20 years, and like of being consistent, being quality, being a good company. Like I feel like morally they are somewhat on the good side of things. So uh, I'm always going to give them the benefit of the doubt. And then yeah, like when I saw they're doing an NA Fest beer, like I hope that comes down here to where I can get to try that, or maybe it's in the variety pack, because I had read that they're going to change up that variety pack with season. The NA variety pack, for those who don't know, it's the IPA, the Trail Pass IPA, Golden Ale, the Hazy IPA, and it's what's the Cerveza, Kevin? The it's like you've had it. It's like the lime one in the
Oh yeah,
pack.
yeah. I think it's called
I
Cerveza
think
or something
that's
like that.
getting switched out into a seasonal thing where they'll have a different one in that which I still think that is such a cool idea. A variety pack of NA beers. Like I have bought that variety pack probably 6-7 times.
Good.
Yeah.
I just want to let you know, as you're saying this, I got a notification on my phone that they're about their pale ale a light lager going forward, and that they're changing it completely to adapt to an ever-changing market. So
Okay. All right. They're dead to me. Let's move on to another topic. Let's talk more about this Bill Burr Pumpkin commercial. Like, is there a brand in the craft space that you would consider? Like, I just threw out, like, I would consider like a big thing. I trust Sierra Nevada. Like,
that's my number
besides
one.
Sierra Nevada, is there someone else out there who you would say, like, you know what, I trust you. Like, you're gonna throw something at me, and I'm going to buy it, like without sight unseen. Like, I will buy this.
I think I mean it's a hard question because like why all of us would say Sierra Nevada number one is I don't want to say that it's not that they aren't risk takers, but they're very calculated risk takers and very deliberate in what they do. Like you're not gonna get a nuts and gum beer from them type of thing.
Yes, that is correct. Beer
Yeah.
Advocate says they do not have a nuts and gum beer.
Yeah. I'm a white male, ages 35 to 49. Everyone listens to me, no matter how dumb my ideas are. And
by the way, even though that wasn't for that you didn't mention my dad, he got that reference, just so you know.
Oh, good.
So that's the third mention of him on this
Nice.
episode.
Wait, so does he show up? Is this like a Beetlejuice type of scenario? Is he walking in your door? Your door? I mean, no one has walked into your room right now, Kevin, but that doesn't mean he's not there.
Yeah, but they do take again. It's not that they're safe, but it's that they're really smart. And I think of a lot of the other breweries that maybe I would have once put into that. I've now seen throw some pretty shit against the wall because Sierra Nevada has never come across as desperate, and I feel like a lot of the people that are throwing all that shit against the wall. So I think all three of us are probably going to say Sierra Nevada is the number one in that category.
Kevin?
100%. And this is the thing, is that this is one of the things I respect about them the most. They did look at their portfolio, and they killed Tumbler, and they killed Keller Weiss, and they killed Porter because
And they
weren't.
killed me when they did that. But
Yeah,
yes.
and those are 3 beers that I
I'm
love.
glad you're back from the dead, by the way.
But you know what? They made the necessary changes to the market by adapting to the market. And then, they bring them back down the road in a mixed pack that I'm going to buy multiple of so I can get as many of those beers as possible. But they didn't change Pale Ale. And Summerfest is still fantastic, and Bigfoot is still fantastic. Like, I feel like one of the things that makes them that brewery for me is the fact that they have stayed true to making the beers that they make and not trying to overcorrect for the market. They have a built-in audience, and I don't know what their earnings calls look like, but they seem to be growing and doing pretty well. And they might be the aberration. They all the other breweries we're talking about, we talked for ad nauseum, months and months ago, years ago, maybe at this point, about New Belgium and Fat Tire. Like, we talked about all those things, and maybe that was the right move for them at that time. But as an old school guy, I just have such respect for them to continue to do what they do so well while introducing new brands and getting people into those as well. Like, that to me seems like the way forward. And what you're talking about, Mike, and what you're, you know, what you've, I have not seen these press releases. I haven't seen these beers out in the market, but I am going to go get them immediately because I trust them. I trust that this beer is going to be good, and I want to support them, and I want to put my money where my mouth is when it comes to that brand. And I don't have very many breweries that I can say that.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm trying.
you said in that, Kevin, probably the only other brewery that that I absolutely go with on this, and that's New Belgium. And
Yeah.
I would probably put Sierra Nevada slightly above New Belgium in this. Now, I am also very, very weird in this perspective because Kevin hates that I like the Force beers from
I don't
from
hate
New Belgium.
anything you like, Mike. You like all the things you. I just don't particularly
You
love
just
them.
do not think they are IPAs. Okay. That's
They're
yeah,
objectively
Wait,
not. But go ahead.
what were we saying earlier? Everything you like is
wrong episode. Wrong episode. But like that is a brewery who like okay, if I'm at Costco and I see a variety pack from them, getting it. Sierra Nevada, getting it. Go to Publix, see a new brand from Sierra Nevada, getting it. See a new brand from New Belgium, getting it. Like I want to try that. Now, I'm also I'm willing to admit this that I am being biased into New Belgium with the amount of time that I have known Matty Smooth, our friend of the show. Like, he's not just a friend of the show. He is a person who I have known, like, in this industry for a long time. And I want to support him in I want to support my friend who has been in a job for 20 something years. I love that dude so much. And like when he put out, there was an IPA pack that they put out that I saw him say something about that one of the recipes was like holy him, and I was like, oh, like gotta get this, and I saw it at like the Publix in the little podunk town that my mother-in-law lives in, and I'm like, okay, gonna grab this, and it was delicious, and I texted him like, yo, dude, awesome. But yeah, like those are two brands that I mean, depending on time and feeling, I maybe could go back and forth on 1A, 1B. Let's do that. 1A, 1B. But
it, I absolutely agree with New Belgium. You know what's interesting is
Me too.
one of the points that Kevin made about not fucking with Sierra Nevada or with not fucking with Pale Ale is New Belgium did the exact opposite with Fat Tire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you know what? And there are two very different stories from both of those. Like Kevin
Yeah,
talks about
yeah,
them being a little more, Sierra being a little more conservative and the risks that they have taken, where New Belgium has created a sub brand or a secondary brand in Voodoo Ranger that allows them to be outlandish and try completely bonkers off the walls things. Uh, and take those risks, and just if it doesn't work out, you just write it up to like, oh, that's Voodoo Ranger, and it kind of works for them in that aspect,
well,
which is somewhat ingenious. Um,
well, and they
eh,
also had to kind of separate themselves from Fat Tire because too many people thought they were Fat Tire Brewing for the longest
yeah,
time too, right?
Oh
Like
yeah.
they,
and
right?
That's the
it,
problem with
it,
with any large brewery that has one product that is the most popular is that everyone thinks it's Budweiser, right? So you are that brewery that makes that one beer.
Yeah, but I mean it because it got to the point where they thought that they were that, it kind of forced them to grow up in a way that I think was uh uh, I don't think you get the Voodoo Ranger series without them going through the brand identity confusion that it was causing that forced them to
not at
start to
all.
do different things.
It's
Yeah.
Good
like
point.
that is a road that was paved by Fat Tire in order to get to Voodoo Ranger.
But
Like,
I mean I think paid by Fat Tire, but paved by the learnings and maybe almost mistake with how they marketed Fat Tire
yeah.
that got them there.
I
Yeah.
like I like their current branding. Like it is very nostalgic in the way that they use a lot of like 35 millimeter looking like film type of photos and video and stuff to get off that nostalgic vibe. Like the can, we've talked about that as ad nauseum. I love that can design. I think that it's brilliant for what it is. I even kind of like the beer itself a little more than the original one because just like, Belgian style ambers didn't really do it for me, but that's just my personal taste. But I give them credit for what they're doing with the brand and trying to create something different off of it. I always go back to this. It's funny. Michael Graham, who is one of the owners of Austin Beer Works down in Texas, was a
Super nice
big
guy.
big person on beer Twitter. Never moved over to Blue Sky. Never moved over to any of the other things. Like I wonder how he's doing because he's such a great person and he's such insightful person into the beer world. And he talked about this rebranding and this reformulation, and it's like, if think of it as like your baby. Like, will you not try the most experimental surgeries or medical things to try to keep like something that you love alive? And then like if that doesn't work, then that doesn't work. And like, yeah, you know what? Yeah, like I would probably try to do something like that too. So like I really do appreciate what they're doing with Fat Tire. I like the branding. I like the look of their social for it. Like they have a Fat Tire brand specific page that I follow because I love the photography for it. I think that it looks awesome. I know that that doesn't sell beer necessarily, but um, if if it all goes down burning after that, like at least they tried. I give them credit for that. And you know what? Voodoo Ranger picks up where they left off with Fat Tire and just keeps on going ahead. Sweet. But I do give them credit for trying to keep that brand alive.
So you mentioned the Dan Patrick beer, and I said that we kind of divorced it from Dan Patrick Audible Ale, and it was kind of on there. But the thing that when we came up with Game Changer Ale, it was still with Craft Beer Alliance, right? So Widmer Red Hook. Uh it- the things that we were going for was noticeably craft, and that was it's one of those terms where I guess I can't define it, but you know exactly what I mean when I say it, noticeably craft. And at the time, the shorthand for craft beer was Fat Tire. it became the shorthand for craft beer to the macro consumer, right? Not that not that pale ale, not that the SNPA wasn't bigger or more prominent, but that was more of the beer nerds. But Fat Tire was, and so because we had like 4 different styles that we had. The one was a Citra IPA that I fucking loved, and I was really mad we didn't go with it, but I also understood why we didn't go with it because it wasn't going to appeal broadly enough when we did Game Changer. Now the problem is that we diluted it too much where it became too safe, and it was the opposite of a Game Changer.
I don't
But
remember what was the style that you ended up with.
it was a pale ale. Is American Pale Ale. Trying to remember the hops in that. God, that's been forever. But
So
I mean,
that
it
wasn't
had
just a white label of
no,
ESB.
no. This was
Okay.
not ESB. This was not Audible Ale. Audible Ale was also not a white label of ESB, and that was Dan Patrick's beer. But this was different as well, and so like literally they came up with 4 different recipes, and it was like 4 of us sitting down in the conference room outside of the test bar, trying these 4 different things with 2 guys from CBA who are no longer there, and the 3 of us on the beverage team, and then occasionally we had to bring in vice presidents who needed to feel like they were important. And so one was this Citra IPA that I fucking loved, and I was so happy that thing was that they brought in kegs of that stuff because that meant that I got to have that on tap down the test bar for a while. And then one time after I was cleaning lines, I forgot to close the taps, and I poured that beer all over the front of the bar when I was hooking the keg back up. But it smelled amazing in there. One was that pale ale, right? So it had like C40. Um, I don't remember the hops right now, but it was all fairly safe. To me, it drank a lot more like Sierra Nevada Pale Ale, but all of the executives who wanted to be involved were they're like, "Oh, this is like Fat Tire. This is like Fat Tire," and like annoyed me. It was like, "This is nothing like Fat Tire." But I got what they were getting at. It wasn't like it was in Fat Tire that they understood, the nuances of no, it's not.
It
It's
was
more of
different than light lager, so therefore it's Fat Tire.
it became a shorthand for craft beer to light lager drinkers in a non-offensive way, in a gateway way, right? So we'd also done like a wheat or like a blue moon style thing, and I'm trying to remember what the 4th was.
This is
And
interesting that they made pilot batches like that this
yeah,
wasn't a white label thing, that
no,
they
no,
actually
it wasn't
wanted
at
to
all.
create a new recipe
It
for
was
this
literally
brand.
it was really truly a collaboration. And if our like honestly, if our lawyers hadn't been so overly concerned about things, it would have been more strongly our brand. Uh, Ultimately, that tap handle, that game changer tap handle, that looked exactly like the remotes used in our commercials for pausing a game or sending it overtime or whatever, those types of things, had a Red Hook logo on there. And people to this day will tell me, I swear that was a Buffalo Wild Wings logo. It wasn't. It had a Buffalo Wild Wings look and feel, but it was all Red Hook branded. It was a Red Hook game changer. And that's how you get it into every state. The states that don't allow white labels and states that don't allow a lot of those other things. But yeah, it was 4 different. I think the 4th one was some more light lagery thing, but not super light lager. But yeah, we ended up going with that. But again, it was because people it became, like I said, Fat Tire was shorthand for craft, and that's one of those things that for New Belgium, for better, for like it was a double-edged sword for them. But yeah, I to tie this back, with that, the decisions they made with that beer and the way that they have changed and they have been able to do that, they've learned a lot and they have earned themselves a lot of brand equity that I would automatically give them the benefit of the doubt of any new beer they wanted to throw at me.
I
I
don't
like
disagree with
this.
that at all.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not a big fan of the forced beers. I mean, as I've made pretty obvious on this show for a long time. But when it comes to anything else that New Belgium puts out, I will seek it out and try to enjoy it, and almost always do.
All right. Um, I I think it's about time that we
You
can get
think?
into the last calls.
Have we been doing this show for 24 hours yet? Because is that what we're doing, a 24-hour show?
Oh yes, 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 yes. And we oh fuck, we forgot to start the raising money part of this. Like, because normally when people
It's a
do those
telethon.
types of things, yeah, they raise money for a thing. All right, let's get into last calls, the point in the show where we give each other an unspecific amount of time to talk about whatever it is that we want, beverage related or not. The only rules are that it is uninterrupted, unopposed, unobjected. I'm going to start things off for this one. Because a couple of years ago, we at Copper Point lost an employee, not as in death. It might as well be death, but he left the state of Florida, which was good for him. Anytime anyone gets to leave the state of Florida is a good thing. Jason, he was a listener to the show. I don't know if he still is now. If he is, hey, Jason. Um, uh, he came into our brewery in mid 2020, and I trained him from green, and he turned into a fantastic worker. Like he knew how to do the cellar like the back of his hand. He got to know our canning line amazingly. And then when he moved to Colorado, I was so proud of him. Like, I mean, I was proud of him as a worker. He was the first person that I ever got to like truly mold, like, and like be like, this is how I do it. This is how things go. And you can say that I'm an asshole for like, oh, I indoctrinated this kid into the fucking beer industry. But you know what? Fuck you. I'm proud of what he became as a worker. And he recently moved back to Florida, and he is back with us at Copper Point. And as sad as I am that he has come back to Florida, because no one should have to do that, speaking as someone who did do that, um, I'm happy that he is back with us because we now have a really awesome team. Like I've liked our small team that we had in our brewery, but adding him into it just raises the level of experience and awesomeness in our brewery. And I am so excited to get to see him. I walked in today, was the first day. He started on Monday. We're recording on a Wednesday. Um, and I walked in, I saw him, and I just held out my arms, like, "Come give me a hug." And he was like, "Oh, you really want to do a hug?" I'm like, "Yes, I am hugging you." Um, and I am so thrilled and happy to have him. He's a wonderful human being. He is a great, 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 great worker, and yeah. So Jason, like, if you still listen to the show, which I have never asked if you still do, but you have told me in the past that you do listen to the show. I love that you're back. Thank you for being the awesome person that you are, and thank you for coming back to us too, because it means a lot. Yeah, Kevin.
So at the time of the recording of this episode, yet another human being has done something stupid that made them infamous, I should say, on the internet, on social media. And this person it has something to do with baseball, and it was a Phillies fan and a ball being stolen from a child. And I can't tell you how little this matters in the grand scheme of everything. You have a person who did something stupid and selfish and ignorant. Do you know how many people do something stupid and selfish and ignorant every day? Just everywhere. Both Tim and Mike both raised their hands. I am obviously in the same boat. I am not saying that this person is not an idiot. I'm not saying this person doesn't deserve to have their friends kind of shun them a little bit. But the amount of human beings that do stupid shit that ends up becoming memes that people lazily, boringly mimic and mock and use it in their marketing for their brewery or their business. Lazy, boring, stupid. Stop it. Just stop. This is just some moron who did a stupid thing. Let it go. It's not important. One of the things that I have been doing recently is when some CEO of a business gets caught hugging their significant other, whatever side piece at a Coldplay concert or whatever it is. When someone does something stupid and one of the social media platforms I follow does something clever and funny about it, I stop following them completely. It's a brilliant thing that I've started to do because those people are boring and they have nothing to say. They're just jumping on a trend of nothingness and regurgitating this nonsense to us, pretending that it's important. You know what's important? RFK gutting our entire national health care. That's important. We can talk about that. That we can, share that and maybe use that as a this stuff where people just do stupid shit, that's called humanity. So, yes, the people that end up being derided on social media, they kind of deserve it. But they don't deserve to have their entire lives ruined by stupid shit. And we don't need to be this boring and lazy to keep propagating it forever. So maybe I'm just a suggestion. Do what I've done and stop following anyone who wants to continue to beat this dead horse for no reason. It's not funny. It's not intelligent. It's just nonsense. It's just content. You're just mining content and serving it to you because you can't. What happened to this person? Where did they go? Did they lose their job? Stop caring. That's my suggestion to anyone who is consuming this content. And I'm trying to do myself.
Tim?
So for my last call, I want to give out a true last call. There is a bar in the Cedar Riverside neighborhood in Minneapolis that dates back for I don't know how long. Rumors are it was a brothel and speakeasy during Prohibition. But somewhere in the early 50s, I believe, it became known as a bar called Palmer's. Palmer's is a Minneapolis institution, if there ever was one. And their last day is on Sunday. It's one of those bars where I wouldn't ever say that I was a regular and that people knew my well, that's not entirely true. I did know people. There were bartenders and doormen who knew my name, but it wasn't one that I frequented as often as like Grumpy's or some of these other places. But always had a fondness because it was a place that was welcoming of everyone. The shittiest little stage you've ever seen, and like Pertner Sandstone used to do shows there. When I say shittiest little stage, like you could barely fit a trap set, let alone like actual other musicians on there. A great shitty divey patio. The ultimate welcoming dive bar. As one person put it here recently, it's not a gay bar. But it represented all the best of the diversity and the culture of Minneapolis, and it's ironically it's in a very Muslim heavy neighborhood in Minneapolis. So all the most of the people that live very close to there don't drink and don't go there. But it has been so many people's local watering hole. I stopped in at Grumpy's and I talked to Pat, the owner of Grumpy's, who is also the owner of Palmer's, and is having to close the place down, and very bittersweet for him. But I stopped in there just last night for just to grab a hams, pop in, grab a hams, sit at the bar for a little bit, go sit at the patio for a little bit. I don't want to try to go this weekend because it's going to be an absolute clusterfuck. Apparently, last weekend there were lines out the bar or out the door, like down the block. But it's one of those places where it's sad to see go, and it's not going because it's no one goes there anymore. It's not the place I mentioned before of the you're sad to see it go, but when was the last time you were ever actually there? This is just fallen victim to a few other things, as well as some financial improprieties of a former owner and partner that I don't want to get into since I'm familiar. But it's sad to see this bar, the dirtiest. It brought out the dirtiest and the best people in the city, and there won't ever be another Palmer's. So my last call is drinking one last call, Palmer's. So thank you, Palmer's, for the memories and for yeah, a lot of those. It's not often I honestly lament the end of a bar. But this feels like I said, this isn't a bar, this is an institution, and you know, it Cedar Riverside is not going to be the same. Minneapolis is going to be the same without this place. So, cheers to Palmer's.
I'll give a cheers to Palmer's. I've never been there, but a place like that deserves to have a cheers done.
Cheers.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Does anyone want to plug anything? Kevin, do you want to plug a beer release or anything?
I actually do. Wizard and Pink is back. It is our white ale, the raspberries for making strides against breast cancer, the wing of the American Cancer Society. It's out now. It'll be available from September through October. If you see it, if you live in South Florida and you want to get your hands on it, proceeds of that beer go directly towards Making Strides. And if you don't want to buy the beer, just go to Making Strides and make a donation, because it's a great charity and it's really important, and it's important to us.
Tim?
I was actually going to plug Americans United, who have been advocates for something that I think all three of us agree is important, which is the separation of church and state. It is a charity that I can't say that I've been super active with, but it's been something that I've just been given a lot of rhetoric lately, particularly in the wake of between immigration raids and the quote unquote attack on Christianity that has happened with mass shootings, when there's a whole other real host of things that are going on. I just want to make sure that we understand that we are a country founded on religious freedom and not on any type of specific creed. So go ahead and take a look at Americans United. A worthy cause.
I'll cheers to that as well.
Yeah. I should have made you go last. Because I was just gonna plug beers that we released at Copperpoint. We have our Das Fest beer that we released today on this recording of September 10th. So by the time this comes out, it's been out for a little while. We have it on draft and in 6-packs of cans at our tap room. We also have our pumpkin spice lager, our PSL, in draft and in crowlers that you can take away at our space as well. The pumpkin spice lager is going to be out in draft in some spots in draft outside in the market, but Das Fest beer only available in our tap room, so that's the only place that you can get this awesome golden lager with tons of awesome toasty, bready, earthy flavors to it that you can just drink a bunch of. I love it. It's I think better than last year, better than the year before. Like it's an excellent batch of beer. So if you're in South Florida, check us out and also check Kevin out. Like we're like fucking a half hour from each other, our breweries. So like you get a DD or Uber, Lyft, whatever. I think there's still brew buses that do little brewery tours or whatnot. So look them up and maybe you visit both of our breweries in a day and you support local businesses. And in Kevin's case, you can also support a charity as well for a great cause.
And you can watch the Bill Burr Sam Adams pumpkin beer commercial after having your pumpkin.
You can
spice
watch
lager.
it while you're in an Uber. Make sure you turn the volume all the way up because Uber drivers love that.
They like that.
Love to be a part
It's their favorite.
of what you're doing.
My last Uber liked to make me a part of what he was listening to, and it was not.
Speaking of the separation between church and state, my last Uber driver had some very aggressive gospel music playing the entire time that I was heading home. And what I had to say to
like
that was
3/4 of Uber drivers in our area because that it happens all the time for me too. If you want to support our show, go to our website, youknowwedrink.com. Check out the Brands We Love page. We have awesome stuff like Made In Cookware, Trade Coffee, things. If you purchase something through those links, we get a little kickback on it. Made In has some really awesome stuff right now. I've been considering buying their griddle on there, even though I have a griddle. I want to buy their griddle because it looks so much cooler and better. And they just sent me a little thing in the mail recently with stuff that was for sale. So go check out Made In. I own many pieces of their equipment. Trade Coffee. I'm a subscriber to them, and I've talked about them multiple times. You can get coffee delivered right to your door and get cool new stuff. Always try out new coffees.
Michelob,
we also have
Buffalo Wild Wings. What else do we plug this? I'm sorry, Mike.
Sierra Nevada, New Belgium, Lazy Dog, Melvin, Boston Beer, Truly, Sun Cruiser, Dogfish Head, 21st Amendment. You could drink it while you can. Racer 5, Bear Republic, San Francisco.
Just go there. Just go. It's
Chicago.
Just
Minnesota.
Just the concept of beer. Just
Max Kepler. He hit a home run during the time we were playing. 5 RBIs tonight.
Yeah,
Thank you, Max Kepler.
I got an email from Maddie Smooth during the time we were recording, so it felt all very full circle.
Thank you, everyone, for continuing to come back and support the show. We really appreciate it. We'll be back with another new episode in a couple weeks. Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers.